Welcome to Reddit News. Like and subscribe or this will eat your cookies. Teachers of Reddit. When did you realize a kid was gifted? After less than 1 year of music lessons, it was clear the student would likely become a concert pianist when he learned 15 of Bach's two-part inventions from memory and played them brilliantly. Username checks out. Dude. This guy always has excellent musical anecdotes and stories. One of my favorite Redditors. Why, thank you, kind sir. My best wishes to you, Hi Larry Us, for an enjoyable weekend. That's amazing! Do you still keep in touch with the student? Yes, we keep in touch. Open parentheses. He comes back to visit in person whenever possible. Close parentheses. He has recently completed a DMA. Open parentheses, Doctor of Musical Arts / Piano Performance, close parentheses, and is an in-demand musician. I'm following his career with much interest. Wait, so he learned 15 of the inventions after 1 year of learning piano? Man's a living ling-ling. That person practices 40 hours a day. This kid was always bright, but never really inspired by much of what he did. Seemed a little lazy, but wasn't troublesome. He was just kind of a neutral kid in the class. The we did one day of Lewis structures and he thought it was too easy. Gave him a harder worksheet which he finished in like 3 seconds. So I gave him an organic formula that had 12 different isomers and some resonance structures. He came up with all of them in less than 15 minutes, including ones that had to do with how the object would look in 3D, even though we never covered it. Kid is currently working on his PhD at Yale in organic chemistry. Was this in high school? That's impressive for an undergraduate. I am an organic professor, and resonance really screws most of my students for some reason. It was in high school. I have my master's in organic, so I like to sprinkle it into my high school class more than others. I was shocked when this kid was asking questions about chirality to me. Open parentheses. Not using the term, but expressing the idea, close parenthesis, and had to break out my Orgo book to find problems for him while the other students were still grasping, if we share 2 electrons, we get a covalent bond. The kid just got it, and could see how the structures went together and how pieces would fit. I had him doing mechanisms pretty quickly just to keep him interested. He essentially took a different class than the rest of his peers from that point until the end of the year. I knew when he surprised me by reassembling an engine out of a car all by himself in a single 90-minute class period. It was right before school let out for COVID. I had to hurry up and get some projects thrown back together quickly, since school was closing. He asked to do it, so I let him try, and went off to do other things. By the end of the class, it was completely assembled. Never asked me for help, and it was working. Definitely gifted. My sister was 20 and had an old Civic. My dad is a mechanic and came home from work to find she had taken half the engine out, cleaned and sprayed it pink, and reinstalled all the parts herself with no help. He was so impressed, he started her apprenticeship. First female in the company a week later, and 6 years later she was headhunted to another company, and is part of a pit crew for a rally car, and also has her own race car which is actually her first Civic that she souped up herself. You just met Anakin Skywalker. A young Padawan indeed. He graduates this year and will definitely be missed. I'm sure great things are in store for him. We will watch his career with great interest. Biology teacher here. Had a student come in at age 15. He didn't talk much, but he did all his work as asked and did it well. One day we were having a class discussion about something and he joined in. It ended up being a back and forth between just the 2 of us, and at some point, I realized I was discussing pretty high-level stuff with a 15-year-old. He's a neurosurgeon now. What were you discussing? It started off as a talk about the ethics of human cloning and genetic engineering. We ended up getting into detail of the mechanics of it. He was asking questions, understanding the answers, and immediately seeing the repercussions and elaborating on his opinions. It was a great experience. Foreign exchange student from China in the 8th grade. His writing abilities far exceeded the majority of even the accelerated class. I moved him from regular English to accelerated, and not only was his writing strong, his insights were so deep and thoughtful. At the end of the year, I learned not only was he a top student in my class, he won Student of the Year in Spanish as well. Some people are just annoyingly good at writing. It's almost infuriating. I would sit over an essay for hours and struggle to have it make sense. And my boyfriend would look at it for a couple of minutes and come up with way better insights and phrasing. In German, open parentheses, our native language, close parentheses, and in English. He writes poems when bored. I got a collection of love poems by him. Hell, the man wrote me a short play for Christmas one year. Edit. The man is really intelligent, studying maths at the moment. He's not particularly great at real-life adulting and doing practical tasks though. Ain't a teacher, and it's my little brother, but I thought I'll share it. When I was around 14 and he was around 6 years old, I would watch lots of YouTube videos in English, open parentheses, ain't our native language, close parentheses. And he would just sit on the bed behind me and watch for hours. I thought he was just bored and didn't understand anything from what was being said. FFW. A year, we were on a long car ride and he picked up a history book in English. After a couple hours, he tells us he is done reading it. Dad laughs and says, "Oh, sure." I ask him to read a sentence and translate it. He proceeds to absolutely nail it and shock us. For what it's worth, young children have an insane ability for language acquisition. When I taught English, I used to have 6-year-olds speaking to me in English in a matter of weeks, while my older students struggled. True, at 4 years old, I learned English by myself from just watching TV. My mom told me that after a couple of months, she heard me speaking fluent English with my cousins and was shocked. I'm a preschool teacher, and I knew a 3-year-old girl that had very extensive vocabulary and could already read really well. Once during lunchtime, a little boy scarfed down his food and her response was, "Wow, he must have been famished." I was blown away. She also taught me about the digestive system once during lunchtime, and it was accurate information. But her favorite subject was the solar system. She was full of facts about the solar system, and she would teach me new things all the time. I always told her mom that she wasn't ready for kindergarten. She's ready for college. Took a summer job helping at a daycare. One of the toddlers, open parentheses, about 18 months old, close parentheses, was way ahead of the rest. Could talk full sentences. Knew his ABCs. Could count beyond 20. Already had shapes and colors down. I've seen kindergarten-age kids that haven't mastered some of these things. He's in his early 20s now with a master's in engineering and a 6-figure salary. It might not be the standard, however. I was speaking in complete sentences and whatnot around the same age, and I'm a stoner that does landscaping. I was always years ahead of my peers in school until one day I just wasn't. My literally never do homework unless I'm actually going to fail policy might be responsible for that though.
Edit.
Every Redditor and their mother relates to this. Why am I not surprised? Hello, my fellow burnouts. This is extraordinarily common. Students who are never truly challenged don't learn the study and work habits required for success. Our public school system regularly fails our smartest individuals. This is known psychology. That is why gifted is under the special education category. However, it's up to the states and local school systems to determine what services they provide for gifted students. The number one thing I tell parents of gifted children is you have to let them fail at things early on. Otherwise, they run the risk of anxiety and fear of failure when things do get hard.
Hello.
I'm 30 now and slowly overcoming all the bad and lazy habits I was able to develop. I came into the room. He was playing a few strings on the guitar. I asked what it was and he soft pedaled it. I pushed a bit further and he started playing what he'd written. I was blown away. Of course it needed a bit of fine-tuning, a guitar solo in the middle, and a few ooh-la-las, here and there. But he'd written a legitimate rock song. Blew his parents away when he played it in concert. One of my kindergarten friends had a guitar for 1 year. He was able to play everything. Started to take lessons. In the first one, his teacher told him he cannot teach him how to play the guitar better, since he knew it all. The teacher was not some self-taught guy. He studied music and classic guitar on a university. Instead, he gifted him a book on how to write songs. His name? Kid Rock. I used to put a math joke/puzzle in the corner of the whiteboard. Essentially 3 golden triangle numbers arranged in a triangle, and a puzzle which gave the letter I as a result in the middle. In short, It was an Illuminati joke. I had this up for quite a few classes, with nobody being able to guess what on earth it was. Until the last class of the day, a student who suffered from particularly invasive autism just came in, took maybe 3 seconds at most, and then laughed saying, "Why have you drawn the Illuminati symbol on the board?" It wasn't so much that it was impossible. I was just blown away by how quickly he managed to do it. I'm curious what the puzzle was that gave the letter I. Squirt. -1. Imaginary, like the Illuminati. I guess I saw it right from the start. She started walking ridiculously early, like 6 or 7 months. Started talking not long after. Declared around a year and a bit, "I don't like diapers. I'm not going to use them anymore." And was toilet trained after that. Started talking to dead people not long after that. Talking to dead people is easy. Getting them to respond is near impossible. So she died? It's only a matter of time until she starts having That's So Raven-like visions. Huh? It's only a real issue if they talk back. I'm not a classroom teacher. Open parentheses. Mostly music. Close parentheses. But I had a small group of 1st and 2nd graders for a math flex block. Basically, we grouped the kids by level instead of grade or class, and I had the extension group. They had all the core concepts, and we were building on them. This one 2nd grade kid was something else. We were working on double-digit adding and subtracting with regrouping. Open parentheses, borrowing, close parentheses. And somewhere along the line, this kid figured out multiplication. Then he figured out he can use those rules to multiply large numbers that end in zeros. Open parentheses. Example, 700 times 4. Close parentheses. He expanded this rule to include more zeros. Then he figured out he could start putting numbers in the tens and ones slots. And then school was shut down. I like how the wording of this comment subtly implies that this 2nd grader's math discovery was what shut down the school. He knew too much. The kid could have figured out long division, and the school didn't want something like that on their hands. Then he divided by 0. He knows what he said. I was teaching distance over time graphs. The student stated that if the line just went straight up, that it would indicate teleportation because distance has gained but no time has passed. This was 5th grade science. Edit. This kid ended up skipping 6th and 7th grade, 5th to 8th. He was a super humble kid. I miss having him in my class. If the line goes straight up, it indicates you are a photon, or that you are existing in all of the places at the same time. And there are a lot of places. 2 dots vertically would be teleportation. I blame our public school system. I understand this is a joke comment, but I don't understand why a line going straight up indicates you are a photon. Because things moving at the speed of light don't experience time. Of course, they don't experience distance either, so it's not really correct. But it's an AskReddit comment, so who cares? A plot of distance over time is generally constructed from the relative perspective of an outside observer. So, for a photon, it would not be a vertical line. Since motion is relative for all things, I will now construct a distance/time plot for any moving object at any speed, from the reference frame of said object. Dot. This kid was right.